When Christ comes back, he's forcing black people to go inward and deal with their own demons, right? Christ is an exorciser of demons, right? And the white man doesn't need you to free yourself of demons. He likes you to keep your demons. Your demons keep his world going and feed the world that he's built for you in this matrix, right? So Christ is telling you this is not your home, and it's time to go. It's time to go back and to give up this worldliness, right? And so they can't have that. The Pharisees, actually, the Romans can't have that, right? The Pharisees can't have. The Pharisees are the Negro preachers. The Negro preachers can't have these Negroes not giving them money because they built their lives around that, and they've sold their souls from that, right? And the Hebrews, they don't want to give up their codependency on whites, right? Because it's a lot easier to worship white people, and it's pretty easy. I just worship the white man and do what he says, and become hard on these niggers at the plant, and become the foreman, and I'll get a better job, so the story goes, they sold Christ out for a couple pieces of silver,
Yeah.
For questions, comments, and to show your support, visit us on the web at afroempath.com. The image of Christ has been obviously, culturally assimilated, you know what I'm trying to say? And but would you not agree that love of God and his son, whatever, is within the hearts of each and everybody in this world, no?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like how do you, how can I put it? How can you explain that to somebody? You know what I'm trying to say, who's now turned off to that, and you know what I'm trying to say, because of what they've done with that image. You know what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense? Because I feel personally like, in terms of like healing, a lot of the work I'm doing is to helping people to heal, But I would say that how can you heal, right? If again, I think there's three stages. There's belief, faith, and fruition. How can you heal and not be dragged down into a level of fear and anxiety in your life if you don't have some type of faith? You know what I'm trying to say? And I would just say Christ is the best. It's the best thing I could say. You know what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense to you?
I had to turn myself off of the image of Christ that they put out for us to love. I had to turn myself off of that in order to accept the whole concept of it.
So tell me about your process, because you came from the church as a child, right? And many of us do.
Yeah.
And then what made you want to break free from that? You know what I'm trying to say?
Because I guess the church kept talking. They kept telling us that you have to go through. They would say you have to go through Christ to get to God, and my brain couldn't comprehend. Like, why do I have to go through Christ, this white guy with long hair, to get to God? I said I might as well like bypass him because he's just a white guy. And then later on, as I started to learn who Christ really is, like what the representation of Christ is, I had to create that image in my mind because I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't seeing any pictures of a black Christ. So I had to create it in my mind. And what kind of forced me to do that is because my father was the way he was. And I didn't give up on that.
You mean he was abusive? And
because he was abusive.
You, yeah.
I had to remember, and they say Christ was opposite to that. So I had to more.
Yeah, he says he's a father for the fatherless, and something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to like focus more on that idea of Christ for me to feel comfortable with it. And then after I understood that Christianity and the whole Ethiopia and how Christianity was started first in Ethiopia. And then that's what made me believe that it's true, and I knew that Christ was black. So I don't look at Christ and see the white Jesus anymore. But I was forced to do that just so that I could save myself.
No, I
I
hear
don't
you.
know.
But I mean, as a kid, like when you're seeing this white Jesus, I mean, and obviously that would appall any black child to think of that, who's has a certain consciousness already instilled in her heart,
Mm-hmm.
But like, was there a time where you ever gave up on that, or that there could be a savior? I'm going to say that, or God in the form of a man. Did you ever give up on that, or did you? I'm saying, did you stop and give up completely, or did you just give up on the white version and try and find a black version in your mind, or how did that work, and what ages were you when that happened?
Um, I didn't like the way my parents had the picture up, and every time I would look at him, because I
Oh no,
heard,
the white Jesus picture.
yeah, they had that picture up.
Damn! Oh shit! My bad. Go
They
ahead.
had
Keep
it
going.
up. They had it up, and I questioned them on it. I said, why do you have this picture up if Jesus is black? That's what I said to them.
How old were
And
you? How
they
old were you?
didn't answer me.
How old were
I
you?
was probably about 8.
Woo! You fucking go, girl. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going.
And they didn't answer me. And I always wondered why they didn't answer me, why they didn't say anything. And then I started hearing from other people, oh, look at the Bible, that's all set in Africa. People used to talk about those things. Like, there's no way that Jesus could look like that if he came from that area of the world. And I believed it. And so I just always had that in my mind. I didn't give up on the idea of Christ, because the idea of Christ it was too beautiful to give up on. Everything that Christ stood for was good. And I couldn't give up on it. I just had to change the way he looks for me.
That's gorgeous. How about you, Kayla? Like, talk about your own understanding of Christ in your life. You know what I'm saying? And just like as a child, like, did you ever? I'm assuming you probably had some kind of Bible study or went to church. I don't know, as a child, but I mean, there must have been, like maybe some issues in your mind of him, or because of the imagery that you saw, or what?
Um, I'm trying to think of how I even felt. I honestly, I, I had to develop my awareness. I don't think it came innate with me, because I thought probably all people were good, so they all had intentions of teaching the right thing, right? And so I think, okay, I've always loved history and things like that. And as a kid, you're not born with like this immediate knowledge of the history of the world. So I thought, oh, from the Bible description, he's some olive-skinned, wooled-haired guy, and so that didn't make him, the pastors I had heard, or whoever taught me, I can't recall, they didn't say he was white, and they didn't hang pictures of him like that. So I just thought of him as like some Middle Eastern guy, you know what I mean? So he wasn't exactly white. So it took me getting older just thinking like, this is just a painting some white guy made to like, or probably back in, I don't know, when Christianity first started in for white people in Europe and all that, so that they could relate, because how dare they feel okay worshiping a tan or dark Jesus, you know what I mean? So they created their own idea so that they could personally relate, and the image of him just propagates into today.
And
And
you thought this all at what age, though?
I can't be exact. I wasn't 8, that's for sure. You know what? Honestly, into adulthood, because being raised like, I'd say late teens or something like that. Like late teens, 18, 19, something like that. Because when I was raised by the most loving mother, tough father, but you don't question Jesus. You don't, or God, the Trinity. You don't question the Bible. You don't question what was written in the Bible.
No, they didn't
As
have the white Jesus on the damn wall, no, did they?
No, not at
Thank
all.
God. Good.
But the exact description of Jesus in the Bible is 100% right and all that. And like Amani said, I can't give up on the concept of Jesus, because Jesus represents the perfect, like the depiction of what a good human should be. So I have a hard time letting that go. And I learned about the source of Christianity in Ethiopia as well as an adult. And and just being okay questioning certain concepts about it, because it's just like, how could this religion spread so far, but the way it was spread was so hateful? And I'm like, how can that be? How can God have allowed that to be, that spread through enslavement? And
But it says it in the Bible, right? Doesn't Christ say that they'll come in my name, saying that they're of me, right, or something like that, something to that degree?
Say that again.
Doesn't it in the Bible it say something like Jesus says they will come in my name, saying that they are from me, or something like that?
And I'm also late. I say late, but as an adult, I'm studying the Bible more, but I didn't grow up studying it like that, and we were only told certain scriptures. So
Okay.
I questioned it, and I was just like, this is just not right. And so I like Christianity for the road that it puts me on to be within myself spiritually, but the exact dates or like history or I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not a theologist, so
No, it's all good. I'm just saying that, like, I put in chat here the verse. It's Matthew's 24 verse 5. I've never read the Bible front to back, but I think that the Spirit, whatever, just kind of guides me to certain verses. You know what I'm trying to say? And like I memorize things that are important to me. I guess I must have memorized them because I knew that they'd be important to me on my path, because it's like information is like little pieces of a puzzle. And you have all the puzzle pieces, and eventually they all begin to fit. And for me, in this day in my life, I have now a complete puzzle. You know what I'm trying to say? So like, yeah.
I have seen that verse. I have seen that verse for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it goes into more things. I mean, it's already been, even in the Bible it's talked about that, and how that image would be used, how his image would be used to conquer. So it's like, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we could talk about it later on, but I mean, I think it's made it hard for a lot of Black people who have been, like you said, like the church is very boring and very dull and very it's almost like for children, not for adults. You know what I'm trying to say? To go and to not give up on what's inside of the book. You know what I'm trying to say? Based upon what they see in terms of the image of Christ plastered all over the walls and all over the churches and in all over the media.
And so I would tune out to that, and so I numbed that. So it was just like, as an adult, I'm finally taking the time to get into educating myself, and I'm humble enough to admit that. Like, I don't come acting like I know exactly the concept of who exactly God is, or what exactly He wants from me, or what exactly He does, and it's all a lesson. So, like you said, they just made it kid friendly, and that bored the hell out of me, and I tuned it out. And so it's like, I got to catch up, because studying the Bible is also a habit. I've prayed all my life for sure, and you read your little scriptures in church for sure, but to do it on my own and think about it for myself, I'm finally able to make a habit of it more so. I had some catching up to do.
No, I hear you.
Is that a disappointing answer for some? I don't know.
No, not at all. No, I'm just thinking. I was thinking what I should say next. But I mean, Amani, do you want to speak to that or not? Or no? Or should I keep moving here?
What she said is that's good. Like, I can see that she knows. You know what's up. Like, you're just taking it as it goes. Like, we're learning this thing. It's like a lifelong learning session.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's good. It's all good.
Yeah. It comes with maturity and actually seeking more. And I'm seeking more now. It's just like, I am not content with I don't know, just being like everyone else. So I finally sought more, and I'm content that I am actually content that I feel that way, but now it's putting into action to keep it a habit so that I am healthy. Because, like I said, I might be actually experiencing physical depression, but now it's like, how do I get out of that? What the heck do I do? So I made a start.
You're on the right track, and I think just being around people that are on a certain wavelength is good too. And unfortunately, a lot of times the church, unfortunately, like you said, you're finding people, other than the pastor, most of the people you're speaking to are sitting in the pews are not. They're still in a state of belief. They're not in a state of knowing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So speaking to other believers that's not going to be conducive to somebody like yourself who's come into the world already with a certain intelligence in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is like, as it's weird to call myself a healer, but I guess I am. I guess, and it's some of the work I do in speaking to people. Like I speak to people that have as empath. A lot of times, people come from traumatic childhoods and things like that. And I don't feel as if you can ever without that knowledge of God and the fact that God is going to come as a man, as a black man, for that matter. I don't think that you could ever develop a certain faith in this world without knowing that. I think if you don't know that in your heart, that you're always going to be swaying in the current of your human circumstance. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? What do you think about that?
I almost have to hear that again to think on it more.
All right, I think that so in life there's a law called rhythm, and the book called the Kabbalah you could read, but there's a universal law called rhythm.
Okay.
So every day our emotions sway on a pendulum from good days to bad days, from happy days to sad days, from depression to happiness. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And without understanding the universe you live in, right? And understanding that it's finite and that had a beginning and that it'll have an end, right? You could easily get caught up in the world. Now, if Christ is the person that is going to come back and essentially end this current world and bring us to an everlasting world, right? That we came from originally,
Mm-hmm.
Is not faith in that person going to help you find a certain inner stillness? You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I can find peace I can meditate and find peace for a moment. You know what I'm trying to say? But then again, but after that peace I found and that stillness I found, that strength I found, there's still going to be some issue, some issue involving somebody that hasn't found that in themselves. You know what I'm trying to say? So how can I help that person? Even if I find my stillness, I'm around people that haven't found stillness. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so ministering in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. But how can I, if my stillness comes from a knowledge of Christ, an inner knowledge of Christ, right, and of God, how can I administer to those people without sharing that same information? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I struggle with that heavy because the Bible it says
Exactly.
to minister, and goodness gracious, I have no idea where to start. I just know how my journey's going. So I'm like, how can I tell you? You're not in the same place as me. So I'm gonna show up one day and be like a Jehovah's Witness at your door on a Saturday. They're not those, your average person they're talking to is not in the mood to just take in what a Jehovah's got to say at your door. So that's the way I feel. Like, do they really want to hear me today on April, whatever?
I understand. I think what it is for me is I have to just learn to be an example, a beacon of light. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's not so much about what I say. It's about my actions and my character. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I totally get it.
Like, Malcolm X, was a Christian and a Muslim. You know what I'm trying to say? And studied the Bible and the Quran. Martin Luther King was a Christian. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm saying that these people lived exemplary lives. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Almost all the black revolutionaries that I can think of that in America were Christians. You know what I'm trying to say? Or Muslims. You know what I'm trying to say? So obviously that Judeo-Christian, whatever lessons it taught them, right? Whatever faith they had allowed them to do whatever they did in life and be successful at that and be great men and great women, right?
People picked up on that
exactly
influential, yeah.
Exactly. So people see, oh, there's power in these guys. I wonder where their source of power comes from. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And so that's what I try and do. It's not like I try and beat someone over the head about it, but I'll say this: like I'm having situations now where like I meet people who don't understand that, and they're not centered in, I guess, God or Christ, whatever you're trying to say, and I'm having to like it says in the Bible, meat for men and milk for babes, or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm having to feed them just a little bit of meat at a time. You know what I'm trying to say? But I think, you know, we have to, like, for me, it's different because these are not my personal friends. You know what I'm trying to say? And I feel like part of what I'm doing is I'm really dealing with empaths. You know what I'm trying to say, for the most part. But part of the work I'm doing is to help people find stillness in their lives. You know what I'm trying to say? And part of that is a knowledge of self and a knowledge of God. So it's like if I find stillness in my life and you find stillness in your life and Amani finds stillness in her life, right? And we are, you know, centered in God and of prophecy and things like that. And then we meet somebody who's not centered in that, right? That person is going to have all kinds of anxieties that they come into you know, when they come into contact with us, all kinds of anxieties based upon their not understanding the world that they live in. You know what I'm trying to say? And not understanding God and Christ and the prophecy. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like it's like if I guess I could be their fuel source. You know what I'm trying to say, of love and understanding, and listen to them and be like their counselor forever. You know what I'm trying to say? And then they have anxieties and they come to me, and they have anxieties and they come to me. Now, a lot of people get paid for that. And they get paid good money. You know what I'm trying to say? To listen to people all day long. But if my source of strength is something within inside myself, right? Shouldn't I not try to convey that to them? You know what I'm trying to say? So that's my, and it's not something that can, you know, enlightenment is not something that comes, you know, overnight or with a conversation. I think people have to go through a process of pain to understand that, you know? But I'll say sometimes you have to just plant a seed in somebody's mind, and if they'll allow you, then you'd be like, hey, well, watch this, or hey, you know, hey, maybe look at the fact that the Bible came out of Africa. You know what I'm trying to say? You know, because some black people think that it's, you know, that it's, oh, that's some white piece of shit or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, meaning I can't, as a black man, say Christ. You know what I'm trying to say? And have a lot of black people take me seriously. You know what I'm trying to say? Because they think that I'm trying to push white Jesus on them. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, you know what? I used to feel guilty for turning my back on white Jesus. A little bit of guilt. I don't anymore, but there was a time when I felt guilty about it because I thought I was being bad, and I couldn't tell anybody that I don't pray to Jesus, because everybody's mind directly goes to white Jesus. So I just don't say anything anymore. And now I don't feel guilty, though. Because
you were younger then, yeah?
Younger, even older.
When's the last time? When did that stop? When did that stop?
It stopped within the last, I would say, the last 10 years, 10, 15 years.
Tell me about the process of that, though. You know, like, how did you? I mean, for me personally, I never prayed. You know what I'm trying to say? And that, to me, I personally think that, like, the last time I remember praying was my prayer was more of a promise that I'll stop being a dumbass.
I shouldn't.
Go ahead.
Well, prayer or even just like acknowledging Jesus, because when I hear the word Jesus, I think of a white man.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I don't even like the term, to be honest, because I know it's not the right name, but I understand.
But that's what people use. That's what people use, and then if you don't accept it, sometimes you can feel guilty around everybody else that does.
I don't feel guilty. What I feel is that's a level that they're at, and that's fine. I mean, to be honest, even if you thought Christ was a white man, you know. You still could learn lessons if you just thought of him as a pure-hearted white man. But the problem is that what pure-hearted white man do you know is going to go into the black community and try and solve our problems?
He would have done that already.
Exactly. So yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not even plausible in my mind. But so what it is for me, I just think of them as. I think of them as like kind of like children, and I don't get upset with them, you know. I just understand that's where they're at, and that's what they need for the time that they're at. You know what I'm trying to say? It's better than, you know, fucking being out here with a thong on, shaking your booty in the street or on Twitter or whatever, Instagram. You know what I'm trying to say? Or, so I mean, what are the alternatives? I mean, there are alternatives, but I understand that, some people are young souls, some people are old souls. You know what I'm trying to say? Some people are shepherds and some people are sheep. That doesn't mean I hate sheep. Christ doesn't hate sheep. You know what I'm trying to say? So why should I hate sheep? You know what I'm trying to say? But at the same time, like, I don't feel guilty. I've had Christians say to come pray with me, and I pray with them, and I feel, and praying with them feels good. You know what I'm trying to say? It feels good to pray, but I understand that still that God is not outside myself. You know what I'm trying to say? It's a source of love within me. So only thing that they're doing is they're praying, is they're invoking the spirit of love and Christ within inside themselves. Now they could do that. They would be better off meditating and going inward and dealing with their own anxiety and learning how to open up the nervous system and really let the Holy Spirit in. Because when you're meditating, that's what you're doing. You're letting the Holy Spirit in. You know what I'm trying to say? But instead of waiting till you hit a wall of anxiety in your life and then praying like a child. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, God's punishing me now. No. God is inside you. What's punishing you is you not submitting to your own soul, which is the seed of God within you. And because you can't submit to your own soul, you're giving into your humanity, and your humanity is causing you suffering because you're seeking love outside yourself and your husband or your wife. You know what I'm trying to say? Or your job or your car or your cat or your friend.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But now that the whole Christ figure has been culturally assimilated, it's hard to get people to, number one, go within and meditate, because again, Jesus is white for most people, and the white man is God for most people, whether they want to admit it or not. Their actions prove it. You know what I'm trying to say? That the white men are God, because if it's not, then you would have had some time of rebellion, if not physically, at least in your mind and in your heart, against white people after seeing what they've done to this world, then and now.
They're God everywhere.
Exactly. And the whole story of Christ, truthfully, is his people are, enslaved by the Romans. They've taken over their land, and they're living on top of them, and he comes to free his people. So I mean, if you're truly Christian or Christ-like, then Christ had times of rebellion where he's flipping over the money changers tables, and he's running through the churches and running people out of them. So to be Christ-like is to be a rebel. And I know very well what that entails, because I've been that,
Which is why they had a problem with them.
Bingo, exactly. And so what it is that what Christianity is, they don't talk about that righteous side. They just want you to be obedient to them, because what they want you to be, really truthfully, is being some type of slave mentality where you're obedient to them vicariously through worshiping their white image.
Yeah. I sorry, Mommy.
No, go ahead.
No, I just said yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I always found it interesting because the way it was taught to me growing up, it was just like this guy was just like, I'm the son of God. He's just this quiet guy who says that, and he goes around being really nice and healing people. And then like Pilate hears of, and he just, well, no, the can't even think of the name because I'm tired right now. But the wow, I want to say Pharisees, but I can't even think. But they're like, this guy is an imposter, and we're gonna convince this guy, this king, to have him killed because he's a really nice guy, but he's a liar. But they punish the hell out of Christ, like he killed, thousands of people. It was just like, how was he punished this badly? It's like you said, he was like, Nat Turner, the rebel, going around.
Bingo.
So I thought about that too. It was interesting.
Yeah, I can tell you about the story because I've lived it. And the story is that he was punished for this one reason. He came and told people the truth.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he did. He came and told people the truth. He said, I am the son of God. You know what I'm trying to say? I am your king. And black people ain't trying to hear that shit. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it inflamed them.
Exactly. Not then and not now. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is, the reason why they don't want to hear it is because they have so many demons from living under the oppression of these Romans, right? And he would force them to go in and deal with their own hearts, right? And if you heard my podcast, you'll know that I've stated, and it's not just me that stated, it's a psychological fact written by Carl Jung himself, that human beings will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid going inward and dealing with their own souls, right? In the darkness of their own souls, right? So when Christ comes back, he's forcing black people to go inward and deal with their own demons, right? Christ is an exorciser of demons, right? And the white man doesn't need you to free yourself of demons. He likes you to keep your demons. Your demons keep his world going and feed the world that he's built for you in this matrix, right? So Christ is telling you this is not your home, and it's time to go. It's time to go back and to give up this worldliness, right? And so they can't have that. The Pharisees, actually, the Romans can't have that, right? The Pharisees can't have. The Pharisees are the Negro preachers. The Negro preachers can't have these Negroes not giving them money because they built their lives around that, and they've sold their souls from that, right? And the Hebrews, they don't want to give up their codependency on whites, right? Because it's a lot easier to worship white people, and it's pretty easy. I just worship the white man and do what he says, and become hard on these niggers at the plant, and become the foreman, and I'll get a better job, and so the story goes, they sold Christ out for a couple pieces of silver,
Yeah.
and that's a predicament we're in, is being able to convey the message of Christ, which is really a revolutionary black Messiah. You know what I'm trying to say? To people who their minds have been programmed to not listen to people like myself, because I'm not an ordained minister by the Romans. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. Meaning, yeah, exactly. I'm not coming with some punkified version of it. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm invoking that revolutionary spirit of true Christ. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's not going to sit well in these multicultural churches. You know what I'm trying to say? Where they don't want to acknowledge our history and who we truly are as a people. So they've got us in a real bind. But I mean, I think that places like this and forums, I think the internet really has opened things up where people can be able to even those idiot Hebrew Israelite guys out in the streets, they still play a part of that. You know what I'm trying to say? Those dudes saying Hotep, they play a part in that. You know what I'm trying to say? We're all playing a part in reclaiming our history. But what I'll say is a lot of people they rather reclaim Egypt, which is fine. But you need to understand that after Egypt fell, it wasn't like we just went right into slavery. We had civilizations after that. So we were Hebrews. We were Christians, Coptic Christians. We were Muslims. You know what I'm trying to say? We were Moors. So we had civilizations, great civilizations that were centered in Christ.
Yeah.
That were centered in Christ, right? Before we fell. So we cannot give up on that and just give white people our fucking religion. Because with a fucking stroke of the fucking paintbrush, like cowards, and that's my problem with black people. We're so afraid because of what white people have done in the metaphysical whiplash marks that they've left on our backs that make us afraid to see God within inside of ourselves and make us afraid to go inside and handle our own inner pains and our own inner hurts to get rid of those demons inside of us, to find God and the love of God within inside of us and the love of His Son, which is here on earth now. And let me ask you this: do you feel that we're living in the end days? Like, do you ever feel that kind of feeling that we're living in the time of the quickening now, Kayla?
I do. I definitely do feel that sometimes, because sometimes stuff is just crazy out here. It's hard for me to explain because I'd have to really focus on like examples where you just like.
I can give you examples. Don't worry about that.
This is feeling pretty. It's feeling pretty end. Even.
Oh yeah.
I don't even feel like breaking out the sexuality situation, but
homosexuality, you mean? Oh yeah. Oh, don't worry. I go into that. I already covered that. But yeah, it's like, yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's like all of these things all these prophecies in the Bible that was talked about, they're all coming true. And trust me, I never was one of these Christian fools. Like, I shouldn't say that they're fools, but some Christians are fools, but even in their foolishness, right? And even in their completely Bible-based consciousness that don't look at anything other than the Bible, there's still truth within what they're saying. You know what I'm trying to say? So there are some Christians that won't look at, other civilizations in Africa that we've had. You know what I'm trying to say? They only look at certain time periods and only look at the Bible, and they won't look at other religions. And these are all, everything came out of Africa. That means even Hinduism came out of Africa, right? That means even Buddhism came out of Africa, right? So they'll, I mean, in all the things that you're going to find, different depictions of a Christ figure or Horus or whatever it was, or Isis or Osiris, etc., that got passed down. But, so I'm saying,
the same thing.
yeah, it's a same. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, just the concept of faith, like were we all innately born with this concept of faith, and then we borrow from each other the concept of the benevolence of God, or I don't know, just like you said, just that concept. It sources from that because we have similarities. It's just their depiction is just varies from ours.
Yeah, exactly. It varies over time and based upon the culture. Obviously, in the Hindu culture, it's going to look like them. You know what I'm trying to say? And Buddhism is going to look more like an Asian.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is that obviously the Christ came from Horus, and Mary was Isis and all those things like that, and it was black, and it was black for a long time, even in Europe. When we brought this information, the Moors brought this information to Europe. It was still literally, these are all pale people, and they're worshiping a brown skinned, woolly haired Christ in Europe, and they still do to this day in several parts. They cleverly only took that white shit to us as they enslaved us.
Well, look at Buddha. Buddha's hair is curly. I'm like, I don't see no curly Asian hair.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, the point is that every that life itself. I mean, everything came out of Africa. You know what I'm saying? That of course, if everything came out of Africa, that also is going to include religion. That's also going to include spiritual systems. Egypt was the light of the world. So. I mean, you're gonna if you do the research, you're gonna find all of these origins. Not obviously Christianity is easy to trace to Egypt, back to Egypt, because it seems more linear. You have Horus, and you have Isis, and you have Osiris, and the Father, and the Holy. It's kind of a little easier, but it's maybe a little harder for some people to understand that Buddha came from there. Maybe it's a little harder to understand that Krishna came from there. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's all from there. But the point is that, like, even if you just wanted to, because some people's hearts are not pure, you know what I'm trying to say, and they don't have the emotional intelligence to deal with all the confusion in the world to go and look at things in other religions to find the correlations between what they know and build an association on what they know and then compare it to, I think they call it in college comparative religion. Yeah.
Do you think it's laziness, or
it's not laziness? It's fear. It's fear. It's fear. It's fear. Yeah, it's fear, because what it is that they have something, right? They have something. I gave the example of. Let me ask you, Kayla. Have you ever seen this movie called Inception?
Yeah.
So in the movie Inception, it's still in a sense a Christ story. There's an Asian guy, and he I guess Leonardo in this scene, Leonardo DiCaprio is playing Christ, but the Asian dies in one level of the dream, and he says, as he's dying, he says, "I'm an old man filled with regret." Do you remember that?
Hell no.
It's okay. Well, anyway, so the Asian guy is now in one of the bottom levels of the dream, right? And he just like he said before he died in the top level of the dream. He says he's an old man filled with regret, but he's an old man who's somewhat prestigious. But he sees this character Leonardo come back and I guess he was captured or something outside of the gates of whatever castle, whatever, and he's like, Leonardo's like, I'm here to bring you back, or to I'm here to tell you something or something like that, and the guy's like he's kind of foggy, and he's like, I know I've been waiting for you, and I know like that there's that you have something to tell me, but the point is that he's a little bit foggy in his mind. You know what I'm saying? About who this character is that's come back to save him. And that's kind of like these people that are caught up in belief, in terms of just Christianity, their minds and their hearts are a bit foggy and cloudy through the drudgery of life and humanity, that they don't have the strength left in their heart to really deviate too far from that, because they feel that they would get lost by doing so. So they hold on to that memory. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. But some of us come into this world, like I said, especially as empaths, I feel that we have, since our hearts are open, our heart chakras, as they say, are already open. Like we have a knowing inside of us, like a GPS back to God. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That we don't feel as if we don't feel as if we'll ever be led astray because we know God is in our heart. You know what I'm trying to say? No matter what.
Yeah. But that's why
And
I denied my depiction of of God that I was taught, because I was so afraid of wavering from that. At least growing up when I was younger, like, your parents are like, they just want you to be saved, and they'll just take you to church, and whatever was fed to us is the exact version of God, that was taught to us in America, at least Black people. And so I didn't question a darn thing about, the Christianity that we were taught. So like you're saying now, it can't waver from me. So I have the right to learn while knowing that my connection to God will always be there, and I know it will be, no matter
bingo.
how hard things will get for me.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
I'm confident in it now. Confident. I said confident. Confident in it now that I can learn more and research, and if it evolves a little bit, that's all right. It's still there in me.
Yeah. Like, what do you think? Like, so you meditate. You're learning how to meditate, right? So, I know personally, I went to a church. It was, I think it was sometime last year, and I spoke to the lead pastor, and I'm not sure the lead pastor, but he's definitely a pastor. And we were talking, and I said something about how I meditate, and that's how I found God, through meditation. And he's like, meditation isn't that when you allow demons into come into your life? And I'm like,
No,
I've heard of that. I've heard
What?
people say that.
I said,
Yeah.
what the yeah, that's what he said to me. I said, and the thing is, we were having a really good conversation until I mentioned meditation. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking meditation for your average pastor is not linked to Christ. It's seen as like a whole side belief system, like Buddhism or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, it's for people who don't believe in any God, and it's just what they do to keep calm. And so that doing that, you'll go to hell if that's your sole source of.
Yeah, you would think that, but as soon as I mentioned what I did, my process, and how it was to get closer to God, you know what I'm trying to say? He's like, "Oh, you mean Christian meditation?" And I said, "Oh, really?" So so I'm like, "Oh, so as long as I say Christian in front of it and say meditation, it's fine."
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm like, what? So again, he's still stuck in his sunken place, but it's all good. But it's like if you can get through to them and make them understand that you're not the magician of the Pharaoh, you know what I'm trying to say? Because the story of Moses, Moses was a magician himself, right? He had magic himself, magical power, but and I guess he had his staff, and he put his staff down in front of the staff of the Pharaoh's magicians, whatever it was, or sorcerers, and obviously his snake ate their snake. You know what I'm saying? Is the whole thing. But the point is that as long as you show them that what you're doing is still centered in a knowledge of God and in service to God's plan, you know what I'm trying to say? Then they'll understand that, okay, you're someone safe. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. Again, they need to their safe place. Their safe space is very, very constricted. My safe place, or I guess what you call your comfort zone, your spiritual comfort zone. Mm-hmm. My spiritual comfort zone is very large, because I'm now to the point where I know myself, and I'm very centered in a knowledge of self, and a knowledge of God, and a knowledge of history, and a knowledge of like I said, every piece of the puzzle that I needed, I put together, and I have already made a complete picture. So if I want to go and make that, make the picture bigger, or however I can do whatever I want now. I'm trying to say, because I understand all the puzzle pieces now. So I think a lot of people don't only have a couple puzzle pieces, and they just hold on to that, and that's enough for them at that point in their life.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Anyways, you getting tired here, Kayla? I'm sensing you want to hop off here, yeah?
I'm getting tired.
All right, that's fine. Well, anyway, great conversation. I thank you, and yeah, hop back anytime, and if there's anything on your heart or your mind, let me know. Again, this is a podcast I plan on having for quite some time. So,
right.
Any insight?
It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Amani.
Nice to hear somebody speak on such levels. That's nice.
Yeah. Back at you, seriously. And thanks for having me, Lewis.
My pleasure.
All right, I'll talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Peace.